This video is a tutorial on how to use Microsoft OneNote for the iPad. Microsoft OneNote is a note-taking app. It allows you to create different notebooks for different purposes and is useful in a variety of different ways. In the description below, you'll find timestamps for what I'm going to cover in this tutorial that will allow you to skip to the section you want to see. Alternatively, sit back and watch the whole video to get an overview of what this app can do. If you find this video useful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. At the end of this video, there'll be some more information about my Patreon account, which will allow you to give me some more support if that's what you want to do. So if you've got Microsoft OneNote and you don't have any notebooks yet, this is pretty much what your app will look like. To begin with, we're going to have a look at the app settings. You can find this in the top right corner, this little settings icon up here. The first option allows you to sign in or out of your Microsoft account and choose which storage accounts you want to use. The Quick Note setting allows you to turn on or off if you want to show recent notes in the Today View widget on your home screen. The Edit and View settings allow you to set a default font and size for your notebooks. A really useful setting can be found here. It's called Autocorrect. This is something that would be really useful, not just in this app, but actually something they should consider implementing across the entire iPad operating system. By default in this app, the first letter of a sentence is automatically capitalised, which can be very useful. However, if you're typing an email address or a website address, you don't want that first letter to be capitalised. And if there's something that you do often, you can turn this setting off. Another useful setting can be found under Navigation. This gives you some options about how you want the pages of your notebook to be arranged. By default, when you create a new page, it's going to create a new one underneath the one you've got currently selected. If you want your notebook to be in chronological order, you should choose at the bottom of the page list. This means the pages of your notebook will be arranged from old to new. If you want your newest notes to be at the top, then you should choose at the top of the page list. The last setting we're going to look at here is something called Enable Class Notebook. The class notebook is something that's useful if your school or institution makes use of Microsoft Teams. This allows you to share work or resources between students and teachers. If you're not using this in an educational setting, feel free to turn this off. Let's now take a moment to talk about how your notebooks are organised. On the left-hand side of our app, we can see this blank pane here. And if I click on the arrow in the top left, it expands into 3 sections. And these sections are how our notebooks are organised. The first column is called Notebook, and here we can store several different notebooks. Those notebooks are then broken into sections, which is the second column. These are like the dividers we have in a folder or chapters in a book. And for each one of those sections, we have different pages. If I want to hide some of these columns, I can just click this area in the main interface. So that left-hand column is where we will look at our different notebooks and our different sections and our different pages. This main section here is where we will view our individual pages and be able to edit them. Then this strip along the top has our different editing settings, which are separated into different tabs. And it's these tabs we will look at for most of this video. Let's start by creating a notebook. If we go back to this left-hand column and click on the arrow, our first column is for notebooks. I can click the plus icon in the bottom left corner to create my first notebook. I can start by giving the notebook a name, and I can choose a colour for it. Finally, I can choose where I want this notebook to be stored. When I'm finished, I can choose Create. When I create a notebook, a new section and new page is automatically created. If I long press on my notebook, I have 2 options that appear at the bottom. The first is a picture of a paint palette, and this allows me to change the colour of my notebook. The other option is to close the notebook. Closing a notebook isn't the same as deleting it. It's a bit more like archiving. I can have several notebooks along the left-hand column, But if there's one I don't want to use anymore, I can archive it so it will be hidden. If I want to get access to that notebook again, I can simply tap on More Notebooks. In our next column, we have our new section. I can add additional sections by clicking the plus icon at the bottom. If I long press on New Section, I have 4 icons along the bottom. The pencil tool allows me to rename the section. I can also change the colour of this section. The first icon allows me to delete the section. The second icon allows me to move it or copy it. And the last icon allows me to lock it so it can't be edited. And then we get to our Pages column. If I want to create a new page, I can click the plus icon at the bottom. If I long press on this page, I have options to delete it or move or make a copy. By default, my page is called Untitled Page, but if I type a title, it will automatically rename. Before we start populating this first page, I'm going to show you some additional settings. If we go to the View tab, under this menu we can choose the paper colour, and we can choose the paper style. We can choose from blank, lines or grids. In applications such as Microsoft Word, if I want to start typing, I have to start typing from the top left-hand corner, like we can see my cursor here. But in Microsoft OneNote, I can click and type anywhere. Now where I've typed some text, these are a bit like text boxes. I can click on a text box, and where the arrows are in the top right, I can change the size of it. And if I click on the 4 dots at the top, I can move it around the page. If I'm not happy with something that I've done, in the top left-hand corner, I have Undo and Redo. If I triple tap on some text, all of that text is selected and a contextual menu will appear. We can see that I can cut and copy, and once I've cut and copied something, an additional menu item will appear called Paste. And I can do something called Copy to Sticky Notes. This is a Microsoft feature that's available across all of its Office apps as well as in Windows 10. All of my sticky notes are synced, which means I can use them in different applications from Microsoft. With the text selected, I can make use of some of the formatting options underneath the Home menu. Firstly, I can change the font. Then I can choose its font size, either by selecting a number from this menu or clicking the plus icon to gradually increase the size of the text. I can choose the minus sign to decrease. Next, we have some very familiar formatting options, including making it bold or underlining the text. I can also do Strikethrough, and I can change the font colour. I can choose from one of these presets, or at the bottom I can choose more colours. The next icon along allows me to choose a highlighting colour. This gives some colour to the area behind the text. The next icon allows me to choose bullet points. New bullet points are generated every time you hit return. The next icon along allows me to create numbered lists. If I have a paragraph of text, I can make use of indents. If I triple tap on a paragraph, it will select it all. Then, using these 2 icons up here, I can move the text to the right or to the left. The next option is our alignment tools, where I can choose to align it to the left, the centre, or to the right. And finally, we have our font styles. From here, I can choose if I want my text to be a heading, a title, a citation, a quote, or normal paragraph text. The next set of icons along are called tags. These allow me to tag a specific line of text. For example, the first one is a checkbox. These operate a bit like bullet points. If I hit return, it generates a new one. The next icon is a star, which could be used to highlight some important text. Following along from that, we have a question mark, which could be for a question. And then finally, we have our tag menu, which contains all of the tags available. For example, I could choose phone number. Or I might want to highlight a piece of music or a podcast to listen to. There are many more available. Finally, we have a button for sticky notes, which is what we talked about earlier. Let's go to the top and go to our Insert menu. This allows us to insert different items. The first one allows us to insert a table. By default, the table is made up of 2 columns and 2 rows. If I want to add more, this is very easy. With my table selected, you can see at the top, I've now got a tab called Table. And under this, there are a few different options. The first is to select a cell, a row, a column, or the whole table. And then the next icon allows me to insert rows and columns. If I want to delete a row or column, I can choose this from the final menu item. Back on the Insert menu, the next item allows me to insert a picture from my camera roll. When you've chosen which picture you'd like to import, you have a few different editing options. These are found in the top right corner. If I want to delete the picture, I can choose the first one. If I want to crop it, I can choose that option, and by dragging these handles in, I can make a smaller selection of the photo. When I'm finished, I can choose Done at the bottom right. The third icon allows me to rotate the photo. And the last icon is some filters. If you've chosen a photo, then obviously leave it with the photo option. But if the photo you're importing is a picture of a document or a picture of a whiteboard, you can choose these items here to optimize what you're importing so it looks better on your notebook. When you're finished, hit Done at the bottom right corner. And now you can see that the image is on my notebook. If I tap to select it, a contextual menu will appear. This allows me to cut, copy and paste, or to delete it. I can choose Rotate if I want to change the angle of the picture. To improve the accessibility of your document, you might want to add some alt text, which is basically a description of what the image is. I can copy it to my sticky notes, or I can set the picture as a background. If you choose this, it doesn't replace the whole background with the picture, only the area that is the same size as the picture. Let me show you. This picture is now in the background, which means that I can drag things to put over the top of it. If I want to take a picture, then I can choose the camera option, which is the third icon. The fourth icon allows me to record audio. As soon as you click this, an audio recording will start and an icon will be placed on this page. The next icon along allows me to insert a file. If I choose this option, it doesn't actually insert the whole file, but rather an icon which links to that file in another application. I've chosen a video file, and as you can see, it's an icon. I can move this icon around, and with it selected, a contextual menu appears, including cut, copy and paste and delete, as well as previewing the file or renaming it. Again, to improve accessibility, I can add a text description by choosing Alt Text. If I choose to insert a PDF file, that will insert the contents of the PDF inside this notebook. You can see it adds a OneNote icon to link to the original file, but the PDF is actually displayed inside of the notebook. My other insert options include adding a hyperlink to a website, or you can choose to add an equation. You can quickly insert today's date by choosing date. And finally, we can insert meeting details. If you use Microsoft Outlook to accept event invites or to create events, then you can link that to Microsoft OneNote, and then your meeting details will appear on this page. On the next menu item, we have Draw. This allows us to make use of our finger or the Apple Pencil to draw notes onto our page. By default, we have text mode enabled. This means that you can use your pencil to navigate the document without writing on it. You could choose to use the Lasso select tool to select a paragraph of text. If you want to add some space into your notebook, you can choose Insert Space and then draw where you want the space to appear. And then we have our pen and eraser tools. I have a few pens up here already, and I can tap on the pen to start drawing. With this particular pen tool selected, you can see an arrow in the bottom right corner, and if I tap on that, I can choose the thickness of my pen as well as its colour. I can also choose a pattern, or I can choose more ink colours to really refine my selection. Now I have multiple pens here, and these can be rearranged. If you tap and hold on a pen, you can drag it to move it around on the menu. If I want to create a new pen, I can click the plus icon, and it allows me to choose a pen or a highlighter. Also under this menu, we have shapes. Now using the Apple Pencil, I can choose a shape and then draw it onto the page. Let's choose this arrow. The colour and the thickness of this shape is determined by what pen you have selected. If I choose a different colour and a different pen, when I create a shape, it is the same as my selected pen tool. If I want to delete anything that I've been drawing on, I can choose the eraser and simply delete what I've drawn. Now, a really cool feature in this app is something called Ink to Shape. This is something that's going to come out in iOS 14, which allows you to draw a shape using your Apple Pencil, and then it'll automatically change to something that looks a bit better. Let me show you. If I choose ink as shape and then I try to draw a circle, this circle is automatically rounded and improved. It recognises a number of different shapes. And then at the end we have drawing mode, which allows me to turn on draw with touch if I don't have an Apple Pencil. Or I can change the stylus orientation depending on how you write. The next menu tab along is called View. From here, I can choose to hide or to show the section list. I can also choose if I want spelling errors to be highlighted. We also have something called Immersive Reader. If you have a lot of typed text, this presents it in a way that's free from distraction. Under Immersive Reader, I have lots of different options. In the top right, I can change the text size and choose to increase the spacing. I can choose from a few different fonts, and I've got different themes. The next icon along allows me to break the text into some syllables. And I can highlight different parts of speech. Line focus will highlight text line by line or by small sections. If we go to the bottom, we can see a play icon and then some settings for the voice.
Here is some text.
Microsoft OneNote will read the text back to me, and I can choose the different speeds and whether the voice is male or female. If I want to zoom on my notebook, I can make use of pinch to zoom, like I would on other apps on the iPad. By placing 2 fingers on the screen and pinching them together, I can zoom out. And by putting 2 fingers on the page and spreading them wider, I can zoom in. The next 2 buttons along the view menu allows me to view 100% or view by the page width. Paper color and paper style allows me to change the color and the style of the page, as we discussed earlier in this tutorial. I can also choose to password protect the current selection or the current page. And I can also check the accessibility to make sure I've put text descriptions for things like images. The last menu tab we have available is for Class Notebook, and this will appear if you have it enabled under the settings. From here I can choose to distribute a page to students or members of our groups. I can distribute the section, I can copy things to the content library, or I can review student work. Now let's go to the top right hand corner and click the third icon from the right, which is our share menu. So under this menu I can invite people to collaborate on this notebook. I can copy a link so I can send it to somebody else and they can access it. I can also send a copy of the page, and I can do that using the Outlook app or another app such as Messages or the Mail app. Now things like exporting to PDF or printing a page isn't really available, but there is a workaround, and it's under this same menu. If I choose Send with another app, now you can see on this list I have an option to print if I want to print the notes. If I want to export my notes as a PDF file, that's possible. Now I have PDF Expert installed on my iPad. You might not have that, and don't worry if you don't, because you don't need it. But it's under the print option that we can actually create a PDF. And this actually is a really useful technique that works across any apps that allows you to print. If I want to convert something to a PDF, I can choose print. Now you can see that it's given me a preview of my pages. Now, if you make use of pinch to zoom in, so I'm going to put 2 fingers on my screen and separate them, it now gives me a full page preview of my notes. And in the top right corner, I have my share menu, and one of my options is called save to files. And if I choose to save to files, this will now generate a PDF of my OneNote pages. Now, this is a bit of a long workaround, but it's the best I think that we've got at the moment. And the last function I'm going to show you is how to search inside your notes. And if you go to the top left corner, you can see a magnifying glass up here, and I can tap on it and I can search for a word, and that word will then be highlighted on my page. So that's it for this tutorial on Microsoft OneNote. If you found it useful, please like, comment and subscribe. And please do consider supporting me on Patreon. My Patreon page is now live, and I have 3 different membership tiers available, which gives you all sorts of access to different things, exclusive videos, early access, downloadable content, things like some templates that you can use on your iPad. That was in my last video. There'll be all sorts of sneak peeks and exclusive content coming up. So please do click the link in the description below to check out that. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be back soon with some more iPad tutorials.